Welcome. Before we begin, find a comfortable place. Sit or lie down. Let your body relax. Let your thoughts drift. This is a journey into the mind, into perception, and into the quiet spaces where truth lies hidden. In this video, we will explore the allegory of the cave, the shadows that shape our lives, and the light that guides us toward freedom and understanding. Listen slowly. Let the words sink in. Let your breath find its rhythm, and let your mind prepare to step out of darkness, if only for a moment. This is a story of perception, of fear, and of courage. And if at any point your eyes close and you drift into sleep, that too is welcome. The mind, like the body, needs rest to absorb what it cannot yet fully comprehend. The cave as a metaphor for the mind. Imagine a vast, dark cave, cold, silent, endless. Inside, people are chained. They cannot turn their heads or leave. They have been there since birth. Their world consists entirely of the wall in front of them, where shadows dance. These shadows are all they know. They laugh, fear, admire, and debate the shadows, believing them to be reality. This is Plato's Allegory of the cave. It illustrates the limitations of human perception and the path toward true knowledge. But the cave is not just a physical space. It is a metaphor for the mind itself. Each of us has an inner cave, a place of habits, unexamined beliefs, fears, and assumptions that restrict our understanding of the world. The shadows become our identity, shaping our thoughts, our choices, and our sense of self. Most live their lives within the comfort of these shadows, never questioning them, never venturing toward the light. Yet beyond the darkness lies a world vast, colorful, and alive. A world few ever see, shadows as modern illusions. The shadows on the wall are everything we accept without scrutiny. They are our fears: fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of inadequacy. They are habits, inherited beliefs, and societal expectations. They are filtered media, social pressures, and opinions that we adopt unthinkingly. We interpret the shadows as reality because it is easy. It demands nothing from us. The cave is familiar and safe, but safety is not freedom. Comfort is not truth. Remaining in darkness limits creativity, growth, and understanding. Most people choose the shadows over light, fearing change, uncertainty, and the effort it takes to perceive reality directly. Stepping toward the light requires courage, attention, and discipline. It is uncomfortable, even painful, but it is the only way to transcend illusion and access wisdom. Stoicism and the power within. Stoicism teaches that true freedom begins inside the mind. We cannot control the shadows, the fire, or the objects outside the cave, but we can control our thoughts, our judgments, and our actions. Freedom is the ability to choose how to respond to the world instead of being enslaved by fear, desire, or illusion. The Stoic mind examines beliefs, distinguishes between what is within control and what is not, and cultivates resilience. Through reflection, self-awareness, and deliberate action, we learn to navigate the cave without being trapped by its shadows. Inner freedom allows us to remain calm, clear, and purposeful, regardless of what we see or experience outside. The Stoic journey mirrors the prisoner's ascent, gradual, challenging, but ultimately transformative. It is through this practice that we recognize which shadows are illusions and which realities are worth pursuing. the first step into light. Now imagine one prisoner is freed. The first thing he sees is blinding light. His eyes, accustomed to darkness, cannot adjust immediately. He turns, stumbles, and resists the brightness. The fire in the cave, once thought to be the source of all reality, is revealed to be a pale reflection. Gradually, he begins to perceive objects as they truly are, not as distorted shadows. He notices depth, color, movement, and form. Each vision challenges everything he once believed. This initial exposure is uncomfortable, confusing, and even frightening. Yet it is the first step toward understanding reality, the first step toward wisdom. The process is gradual. Understanding takes time, patience, and persistent effort. It is painful because it confronts deeply held assumptions and comforts, but it is liberating because it reveals truth. Understanding reality and the nature of knowledge. Outside the cave, the prisoner experiences the world fully. Sunlight, sky, wind, rivers, mountains. The shadows on the wall now seem trivial, small, and distorted. He realizes that knowledge is not passive acceptance. True understanding requires observation, reflection, and critical thinking. Every detail, movement, and sound teaches a lesson. The freed prisoner learns the interconnectedness of life, the cause and effect of actions, and the impermanence of appearances. He discovers freedom, not from physical chains, but from the mental chains of perception and fear. Stoicism emphasizes this inner liberation. A mind that understands what it can and cannot control is invincible to illusion, opinion, and chaos. The prisoner sees not only the external world, but the workings of his own mind, the source of perception and choice. Returning to the cave and the challenge. If the freed prisoner returns to the cave, the contrast is overwhelming. The shadows, once so real, now appear hollow, meaningless. Those still chained cannot comprehend what he has seen. They cling to the familiar illusions. They may mock him, resist him, or even feel threatened by his words. This is the difficulty Plato highlighted. Enlightenment can isolate the thinker. The mind that sees the truth cannot fully rejoin those who remain in darkness. Yet the enlightened prisoner carries inner freedom that cannot be undone. He understands the difference between appearance and reality, illusion and truth. Stoicism reinforces this. Real power lies in self-mastery and internal clarity, regardless of others' ignorance or resistance. Even in isolation, the enlightened mind is sovereign, unshaken by fear or opinion. Modern shadows and the inner cave. Today, most of us live in caves of our own making. Our shadows are fears, doubts, limiting beliefs, and unexamined assumptions. They are social media pressures, distorted news, peer expectations, and cultural narratives. We rarely perceive reality directly. Instead, we see fragmented, filtered reflections through the minds of others. Many choose the shadows over light because comfort is easier than challenge. Yet in our modern age, another layer has been added to the cave, the digital world. Phones, apps, endless notifications, scrolling feeds, streams of content. They fill our attention with constant motion, yet rarely with meaning. Each notification is a shadow, a flickering shape that demands focus, pulls us away from reflection, and keeps us chained to the cave walls. Hours slip away as we check feeds, watch videos, read snippets, and react to fleeting stimuli. Time itself becomes a shadow, elusive and wasted. The digital world promises connection, engagement, and knowledge, but it often delivers distraction, comparison, and anxiety. We scroll through the curated lives of others, comparing ourselves to impossible standards, absorbing fragmented narratives that shape our fears and desires. Our mind becomes a battlefield of external influences, where every alert, comment, or headline pulls us deeper into the cave. We mistake these digital reflections for reality, as though seeing the world through a screen is the same as living it. Stepping into truth in this environment requires effort, courage, and patience. We must practice digital discipline, recognizing when technology enslaves rather than serves us. We must question whether each notification, each click, and each swipe serves our growth or merely feeds our shadows. Stoicism reminds us that the mind is the ultimate arena of freedom. By examining beliefs, questioning assumptions, and controlling judgments, we can liberate ourselves from the mental chains that confine us. We can reclaim our time by turning off distractions, by choosing reflection over reaction, and by reconnecting with the real world outside the cave. The texture of air, the weight of books in our hands, the quiet of thought, the depth of conversation. Each moment spent in mindful awareness is a step toward light. We can recognize illusions without being controlled by them, cultivate wisdom and resilience, and resist the subtle pull of digital shadows that fragment our attention and dilute our understanding. In this sense, the modern cave is not only the mind shaped by fear and habit, but also the digital landscape that consumes hours unnoticed. By confronting both, our internal limitations and external distractions, we create space for clarity, peace, and conscious engagement with life. Only then can we truly perceive reality, free ourselves from illusions, and live with intention rather than automatic reaction. Plato's purpose, education and society. Plato did not tell the story of the cave merely as a philosophical parable. In the Republic, he emphasized the role of education in shaping both individuals and society. The cave symbolizes the limitations of human perception and the necessity of intellectual development. Those who remain in darkness rely on appearances, untested beliefs, and inherited opinions. The shadows are illusions. Only those who pursue knowledge, reflection, and reason can perceive truth. Education, Plato insisted, is transformative. It frees the mind from illusion and prepares individuals to act wisely in society. Returning to the cave is challenging, as most resist leaving the familiar shadows. Yet enlightenment is not just personal. It is a responsibility. The one who sees the light carries knowledge that can guide others, even if they do not yet understand. Stoic practices for escaping the cave. To move toward light, the Stoics provide practical guidance. Reflect daily on your thoughts and beliefs. Question assumptions. Ask, is this true or merely a shadow? Separate what is within your control from what is not. Accept what you cannot change and act deliberately on what you can. Practice mindfulness, patience, and detachment. When fear, anger, or desire appear, observe them as shadows, not truths. Gradually, the mind adapts, recognizing the difference between illusion and reality. Like the freed prisoner, one must step out of comfort, face temporary discomfort, and endure uncertainty. Through consistent practice, internal freedom grows, and the light becomes natural, guiding thought, action, and understanding, integrating light and wisdom into life. Each of us has the capacity to leave the cave. We can question our fears, doubts, and inherited assumptions. We can turn our attention from shadows to reality, gradually perceiving the world as it truly is. Freedom, wisdom, and inner peace await beyond the cave. To remain in darkness is a choice, but stepping toward light is a deliberate act of courage. In doing so, we not only transform ourselves, but also influence the world around us through clarity, understanding, and integrity. The allegory of the cave is not just ancient philosophy. It is a timeless lesson for modern life. It reminds us to examine, to reflect, to cultivate self-mastery, and to embrace the light of truth. The journey is not easy, but the reward, a life of conscious freedom, is immeasurable. Integrating light and wisdom into life. Each of us has the capacity to leave the cave. We can question our fears, doubts, and inherited assumptions. We can turn our attention from shadows to reality, gradually perceiving the world as it truly is. Freedom, wisdom, and inner peace await beyond the cave. To remain in darkness is a choice, but stepping toward light is a deliberate act of courage. In doing so, we not only transform ourselves, but also influence the world around us through clarity, understanding, and integrity. The allegory of the cave is not just ancient philosophy. It is a timeless lesson for modern life. It reminds us to examine, to reflect, to cultivate self-mastery, and to embrace the light of truth. The journey is not easy, but the reward, a life of conscious freedom, is immeasurable.